Dude, finally, after hours of trying, I've finally beaten this boss. It's taken me forever, but I'm so glad to finally have made it. Now to... Wait, what? The heck is this thing? I've already beaten the boss. Might as well try it, maybe. Maybe it'll complete something. Serious? Who in the fudge added this mechanic into it? Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow was created back in 2005 by Konami. Released on the Nintendo DS, it was the first 3 major Castlevania titles on the portable system, which included Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia. Dawn of Sorrow is also a direct sequel to Aria of Sorrow, which released back on the Game Boy Advance, featuring Soma Cruz and various other members of the cast, returning for the role in one of the only Castlevania sequels within the entire series. This is a very unique take, especially on a portable console. So, let's dive in, shall we? Dawn of Sorrow features the story of Soma Cruz, fighting another threat in the year 2035, a year after the events of Aria of Sorrow. A woman named Celia Fournier aims to resurrect Count Dracula. In order to do so, lures Soma to a replication of the castle of Dracula, in order to kill him and have 2 of her Dark Lord candidates absorb his power to become the next Dark Lord. Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow is one of the only games in the series to feature a direct sequel, featuring pretty much all the main cast, including Arcado, Soma, Mina, and a few other characters that you may recognize from the original game. The story is a typical Castlevania affair. Very, very, very cheesy in some areas. Characterization isn't as great, but it's a fun, quirky story with the same great characters and some witty dialogue here and there that adds a lot of charm to a Castlevania affair. The story isn't a main effect of this game, but it will definitely carry its weight throughout the Nintendo DS titles, and I argue it's one of the strongest stories for one of the portable Vanias. But one thing you'll notice right off the bat when it comes to the characters is in comparison to Aria of Sorrow, the developers of this game from Konami went with a more anime aesthetic in order to appeal to a younger audience. Of course, a lot of people were complaining about this back in the day when this game released because the portraits in Aria of Sorrow were magnificent to look at, fantastic works of art that Konami had designed. While I personally don't mind this change too much, considering it only matters in a few of the in-game cutscenes like you're watching here, it doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme. However, I would have appreciated the original artwork as the anime aesthetic looks very, very generic. However, all in all though, it's not a big deal, and the story carries its weight throughout the game despite not being a huge focus. It's still a fun, stupid Castlevania story like you may expect. Aria of Sorrow is home to one of the most impressive-looking games I've seen on the Nintendo DS. From the sprite animation, to the animation of the attacks, the enemy designs, the layouts of the castle, and the uniqueness that it carries coming naturally with a Castlevania title. This game looks amazing with great detail and polish, especially, again, considering how it's on a portable system. Dawn of Sorrow plays very similarly to other Castlevania games, specifically Aria of Sorrow, featuring a lot of the same kind of mechanics, where it comes to gathering better equipment, leveling up over time, leveling your stats, fighting enemies throughout the castle, and of course, the return of the soul system, which is a major thing from Aria of Sorrow. Considering how it's stereotypical Castlevania affair when it comes to the Metroidvanias involves finding better equipment, finding breakable walls, finding different equipment and whatnot to equip in order to have better stats and whatnot, that's a big thing when it comes to those kinds of games. However, again, carrying over from Aria of Sorrow, this game has a unique system called the soul system, which allows Soma, in order to absorb the souls of other monsters he defeats throughout the castle in order to use their abilities. These come in the form of stat upgrades, projectile weapons, and other various uses that you can find depending on your playstyle. Now, one of the big things about the soul system is it's always random. There's always a small chance of getting a certain soul compared to other monsters, so it does require a bit of a grind if you want to get a specific soul within this game. However, I haven't completely found this to be a big deal, as depending on your playstyle, the souls that you get naturally by going back through the castle with backtracking will get you what you want anyway. So, while the gameplay itself is very similar to Aria of Sorrow, this game does it just as well as I believe. Just considering the enhanced control and the exact same kind of gameplay style, it does it very, very well. There's no real complaints from me in this department. One thing Dawn of Sorrow also added was a unique gameplay feature that was not present in Aria or any other Castlevania game up to this point, and that of course being magic seals. Yes, that is correct, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me right. Magic seals, one of the biggest new gimmicks in this game, and arguably one of the most controversial ones in any Castlevania game, was the use of magic seals. In typical Castlevania games, after you defeat the enemy, you end up getting a giant orb that restores your magic, your health, and then you move on to the next area, but maybe possibly by leveling up depending on the EXP you gain from the boss. However, Dawn of Sorrow does this one step further. If you deal enough damage to a boss, you instead get a magic seal that appears, one of 4 or 5 that you collect throughout the game. You have to form a pattern in order to successfully defeat the boss and seal it away. The problem is, if you mess up tracing the magic seal using the Nintendo DS stylus and the touchscreen, then not only do you break the seal, but you also have to redo part of the boss fight all over again, since the boss gains a chunk of its health back. This is a very decisive thing back in the day, especially since this was clearly just a mechanic used to utilize the Nintendo DS's touchscreen, and it is kind of an unnecessary gimmick. Now, I personally didn't have any trouble with this. I found it kind of addicting trying to work out the strategy to get it right, and I even actively practiced using the magic seals. However, despite this being a major draw point and me personally not really having very much problem with it, I will say this was a very unnecessary mechanic that this game I think would have been far better off with. Not just the fact that it was a useless gimmick that they didn't need to add to any of the boss fights or the gameplay in general, but the fact that it turned off a lot more people back in the day, I'm sure, in comparison to other Castlevania titles. So again, while it personally didn't bother me, this is a very pointless mechanic that didn't need to exist within this game. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow is a fantastic game. It is a staple in the Castlevania series with great visuals, fantastic music, great gameplay that carries over from Aria of Sorrow, continuation of the Soul system, a quirky and unusual story that works for a Castlevania game despite how cheesy the characters and dialogue can be, and all in all, it works fantastic in the series. I highly recommend you guys go and check this game out. It is a great addition to any Nintendo DS library, as well as the Nintendo DS itself. It is totally a fantastic game. However, I would stress that since this game is a bit more pricey on the DS, I would recommend you look for it on the Nintendo eShop if it is available that way. Otherwise, pick yourself up a physical copy. Despite some of the issues, like some of the character portraits not being as great with the anime art style, and the use of the magic seals in the game isn't very appealing, this is still a fantastic title that I recommend you guys go and pick up. Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, a fantastic affair in the Castlevania series. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the review, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow as a whole, and of course, any thoughts you have on the video, period. If you guys want to catch more content like this in the future, hit that subscribe button down below, and if you guys did enjoy it, give it a like to show your support to the channel, and it's always appreciated. Thank you guys once again for your support, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, Nostalgics. Keep on gaming.